Now, when I had graduated from high school 12 years ago, my teacher asked us, why are you doing this? Why are you pursuing university? Why are you pursuing this particular major? One of the students beside me, who was going into engineering, had made a comment he wanted to do it for the status, for the job, for the security, and for the money, of course. He wanted to have this job. And the teacher was like, what if you don't get it? And I had to think, why am I going to university? Is it because I want that job in the end? And the answer that I got was, well, no, not exactly. I'm not looking for a particular job. The major that I'm going into is more because I love this field. I love science, and I loved biology. I loved animals, and I loved everything to do with that general field of science. And in the end, I just wanted to learn more and experience more and meet people who shared my passion and who shared my love of this field and of knowledge, and talk to people who have been through it again and again and again. I guess the question that this teacher wanted to propose for us is, could I live with myself if I ended up hating the job that I went into afterwards? Or could I live with myself if I did not get the dream job and I went through 4 years of university or however many years of post-secondary school and wasted a large chunk of money on this path and then be stuck? And the answer is yes. And to this day, I still believe that going to university or going to college is the better answer. And even if you get out and not get your dream job, you never wasted your life. And yeah, you probably could have learned everything that you learned in college from just reading books and learning things online. But I feel like the process of getting the degree and putting time and effort into composing papers and into talking with other people who have been through this process and have succeeded and have not succeeded enriches your life and actually will give you a better template than just studying things online or reading all the books yourself. And if I didn't believe that I was going to succeed, if I didn't have the goal of getting a degree at the end, I probably would not have put in as much effort as I did. I probably would not have paid as much attention to my work, and I would not have strived as hard to have learned as much in those particular areas as I did in college. I made these experiences for myself, and even if I didn't get the job, I am a better person for going to university and at least having the experience. So with that little story out of the way, now on to Samantha Boyle.
I don't think I've actually ever in my heart doubted that there was a God in my life, because it just seems so unfathomable and, I'll be honest, quite stupid to me. I just feel like when you look at the alteration of the night and the day and the signs of the things around you in nature and the order of everything and the structure of everything,
like, oh my god, look at the alteration of night and day, and the sun comes up, sun comes out. There's so much order and complexity in this world. There just seems so much purpose. Everything has been fine-tuned for life. Look at the trees, the birds, the flowers. Everything just demands that there be a freaking God, after all. Like, this could not have arisen from just sheer chance and the laws of science and mathematics. Molecules colliding with one another at random. Strike physics off the possibilities of her major, am I right?
That couldn't have possibly risen from chance, and there had to be a greater power that created that.
Man, I kind of wish I did make this into a drinking game now that I think about it. So there had to be a greater power that created the universe and everything in the cosmos and in existence. The complexity of life just demands that there be a creator. It's just so improbable that there has to be one. This is called the teleological argument. I kind of expected Samantha Boyle to be more of a cosmological argument kind of girl. But I can roll with teleological. All around you, you see all this complexity. Complexity can only come from a designer. The universe is so ordered and complex for humanity that there must be a designer, and we call this designer God. Problem one with this argument is that it is a deistic argument. Even if I accept your premise, and even if I accept that this points to an intelligent, thinking, creating God, you have not proven your particular God, nor your particular religion. I don't think she's wearing it in this video, but Samantha often wears a really nice watch on her wrist. And I know that a watch has a designer. I know that a painting had a painter because there is no other way that a watch or a painting could be made. By setting this up like this, you see design everywhere. You are tricking your mind into seeing design everywhere. And you have no way of telling a complex, non-designed thing from a complex designed thing. We simply have no comparison to what a universe would look like if it were designed by a god and what a universe would look like if it were designed without a god. So I think it is unfair to make your statement. If the universe is so complex that it demands there to be a designer, then that designer must be so much more complex and so much more improbable than the universe itself. And when you say things like this, you are also exercising your hyperactive agency detection device. Your what? Basically, throughout our evolutionary past, humans have become programmed to see agency everywhere. The classic example is you hear a rustle in the bushes, and it could either be the wind, or it could be something behind the bushes going to jump out and eat you. The individual who thinks it is a predator and runs away is going to be more likely to survive than the person who thinks that this is just a rustling in the wind, it is just my imagination, and gets eaten by a tiger. And in fact, if one were to go and investigate what that sound is, they're probably even less likely to survive than the person who just assumed it was a predator and ran away. Yeah, science isn't fun when you're a caveman trying to fight for your life in the woods, is it? So, evolutionarily speaking, it is more profitable to assume that there is an agent behind certain occurrences in our everyday lives, in our everyday world, and thus the consequences of assuming an agent where there is not one are more often less than the consequences of assuming there isn't an agent when there is one. Particularly an agent that can affect us and then affect our lives in a negative way that could lead to our death. And of course, the ultimate assumption of agency is a God. How we perceive this God and whether or not we believe this God is going to affect us negatively or positively will impact how we act and how others will act around us. I guess those who believed in a God would be more likely to survive, and this belief would also make these individuals more likely to have children, and they would teach those children about said agent and so on and so forth. And throughout time, human beings would begin to attribute human desires to this entity and concoct ways to please him or her from what seemed to work and what seemed to not work. Kind of like an investigation mixed with a little bit of confirmation bias. Eventually we would get to things that kind of just reinforce already existing ideas within our society. And since most religions encourage people to have children and to have lots of children, have children in very specific ways, this helps to perpetuate the beliefs within a given culture.
I just thought, is that really such a bad life? See, the way that I think about it, and this is as a revert, as somebody that wasn't always Muslim, but who now is that this path is better to take even if, hypothetically, there is no God. And even if, at the end of it, which honestly, like, astaghfirullah, like, Allah please forgive me for even saying that. Even if at the end of it, we do just die and there is nothingness. I just feel like this path in life is better to take, even if that is the case. I actually find pleasure and joy following these rules. And I genuinely feel that every single rule in Islam helps my personal growth.
So this is where my analogy comes in when she says that she believes that she is a better person and that this is the path to follow even if there is no carrot at the end of the stick. That she is a better person because she followed the teachings of the Quran and became a Muslim. But the other half of the argument is, were you asking yourself these questions when you became a Muslim, when you came into the religion at say 10 years old? You have primed yourself in such a way that the answer, yes, there's a God, yes, I'm going to live my life this way, has a large thumb on the scale in your lifestyle towards this answer and towards how we act.
I just feel like this path in life is better to take, even if that is the case. Which I know that it's not.
And away from a godless lifestyle. Oh my God, life without religion is just not worthwhile. No. Life without community, life without structure, life without friends, life without love. These are the things that make life worth living. Life without purpose is often not worth living. Whatever makes you sleep at night, honey. But I guess people often need these rules, need the structure, need the God watching them to be a good person and keep them grounded and keep them on this path. They need things to be laid out for them rather than coming to conclusions themselves.
I have still lived a life in which I'm proud of. Like, and that I'm doing good and being good in order to have the reward of good later.
I guess the question is, could you be the person you are? Could you be a good person? Could you strive to do the acts of kindness and the good things that you do without a God, without Islam pushing you? And could people take the information or the lessons from these religions and attempt to be a good person using these standards, but divorce it from God? Now, if you are going to be religious, if you are going to believe something, I truly do believe that this should be your answer. Because oftentimes I hear people saying things like, oh, if there was no God, I'd just run around killing and murdering people and I would have no concept of morality. And my answer is that, please keep believing. Please. Like, I'm actually scared of you. But you've also set yourself up such that the only way you could conceive of knowing that there is or is not a God is when you're on your deathbed and you've already lived your life? Could you continue this path if you knew it was not the truth? If you actually found out within your lifetime that this is not going to happen, would you stop, or would you think you have wasted your life? Could you live this life without the carrot at the end of the stick? Yes, people need structure, people need order, people need rules, and perhaps the only way certain people can be good is if they have constant rules and a lot of structure. And when I hear this person say this, it sounds like she's saying, if I did not do this, I would not be the person that I am. Perhaps I could be good, but I could not be as good. Could you have been this person without religion? Could you have been this person a deist? Could you possibly have learned to be a better person and be the member of society that you are, or be a functioning member of society without your faith? Like, did you really need a God to tell you that drinking alcohol in excess is probably not good for you? Did you really need a God to say, you know what, I probably shouldn't drink alcohol? Do you think that someone could read the book, like the Quran for example, and follow its teachings and aspire to be a better person without believing in Allah as the one true God? Could you have come to these conclusions without Islam? Would you want to cover your hair if it were not for Islam?
A better person, something that makes me more happy and more content and more fulfilled, that will be invaluable for the things that are to come for your future. So when I think about things like hijab, the fact that I do have to cover myself and dress modestly, the fact that in Islam you're not supposed to pluck your eyebrows, the fact that in Islam you're not supposed to wear makeup in front of men that are not directly related to you, I genuinely deem all of these things as a protection for you. I genuinely believe that I am being restricted from these things in order to be protected. And I have seen that because I have...
Would you want to cover your hair if it were not for Islam? Yeah, like, I guess it is a good idea to wear a scarf over my head and not wear makeup and dress a certain way if men are less likely to catcall me and undress me with their eyes and take me more seriously as a person and desire me for what is in my heart rather than my looks. I mean, if I believed that men were going to constantly undress me with their eyes, and I am nothing but a mere object unless I do these things, I might decide to wear a headscarf too. I mean, this picture kind of just sums up all internet hijabis anyway. You go, girl. But I guess if you are coming from this standpoint, then your heart is probably not in the right place to begin with. Because you will be less open to these teachings, and without the promise of an afterlife and some vague concept of paradise, you might not be willing to follow every single rule if you knew there was no carrot at the end of the stick.